Good morning to everyone. On behalf of our principal, faculty members, and students, I welcome Mr. John Minacheri to this webinar on bird watching and photography. Dr. John Minacheri is an alumnus of the Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Mumbai, from where he secured his PG degree in social work. He's also a recipient of the Nagpur University Nagpur Times Gold Medal for securing first rank in Bachelor of Journalism of Rashtrasan Tukdoji Maharaj, Nagpur University, Nagpur. Dr. Minacheri is former professor and dean of the School of Rural Development at the Tata Institute of Social Sciences. He recently retired as professor principal from Matru Seva Sangh Institute of Social Work, Nagpur University. He has been instrumental in organizing many international conferences at Bali, Colombo, Kathmandu, and presented papers at international seminars held at Israel, Amsterdam, and Seoul. Currently, Dr. Minacheri is a member of the School Board of Social Work at Mahatma Gandhi International Hindi University, member of Ethics Committee at Daga Hospital, Nagpur, Ethics Committee of Lata Medical Research Foundation, Nagpur, Executive Committee member of Matru Seva Sangh. He has also been a part of students' journey for more than 150 students have so far completed their MPhil research and 4 students have completed their doctoral research under his guidance. He is an honorary consultant to the Government of India, Government of Maharashtra, Azim Premji Philanthropic Initiatives in Bangalore, etc. for evaluation of various projects and schemes. He's a nature photography enthusiast, and that is the reason why we are meeting him today. A very warm welcome to you, sir. We look forward to this very interactive session with you. Sir, I think you're on mute. Girls, are you able to hear, sir?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Okay. So, are you using an external device for hearing?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Now can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Now we can hear you. We've lost the audio again.
Is it now?
Yes. Now it's
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I was saying that, Dr. BMN College of Home Science is a very distinguished place. I must congratulate the management of Seva Mandal Education Society, your principal, Professor Mala, the faculty, and all the students of this esteemed institution. Because an A grade with 3.69 from the NAC is not an ordinary thing. It's an extraordinary thing. And it's a wonderful achievement. And being an academic, I know the difficulty, I know the kind of efforts that goes into getting this kind of an achievement. and you are also a college with potential for excellence. Wonderful. I am really honored and privileged to be part of this discussion group this morning. Friends, so far as photography is concerned, it is something which I have been passionate about since long. But I started serious kind of photography as an enthusiast, nature enthusiast, some 5 years ago. So for the past 5 years, I've been experimenting with camera and I was experimenting with nature photography. And I'm trying to develop my skills in nature photography. It will also cover bird photography, animal photography, plant photography, and whatever you have in nature. I'm very happy. Whatever little knowledge I have, I would like to share it with you. I will start the presentation, and I think we have to finish it in 1.5 hours. So about 10 minutes towards the end of the presentation, we can have some discussion, we can take questions. I'll try to answer your queries. So we will start the presentation. I must say that all pictures used in this presentation have been clicked by me, and I am grateful to all my avian friends who made this presentation possible. Bird watching is a hobby which helps one to de-stress, to unwind, and to relax. It also helps us to understand more about biodiversity and the symbiotic relationship between plants and birds. Photography also helps one to document nature and to learn more about nature. Both these hobbies are mutually enriching, satisfying, and helpful in enhancing one's awareness about the environment. I have a theory which is about the urban disconnect. To me, the saddest part of modern urban life is that it promotes a deep disconnect with nature. Our urban habitat and our urban lifestyle are focused fully on artificially created facilities meant exclusively for human comfort. We have very little opportunity for coming directly in contact with our experience in nature in our day-to-day life. This is especially so when we are talking about people who are living in metropolitan cities like Mumbai, where there is very little opportunity for you to actually come in contact with nature. The end result is that we have become ignorant about and therefore callous and insensitive towards nature. This is a very unfortunate situation. And when this happens, naturally there is ignorance about nature which leads to destruction of nature. We are least bothered about the adverse effects of our so-called development plans on the natural environment, on the flora and fauna. And such ignorance can lead to blatant violations of the laws which are created for the protection of environment. Therefore, in fact, I will say our education should help us to learn more about nature. I also have a theory that when we are sensible, we will also be sensitive. Now, how do we develop our sensibility? We must consciously engage ourselves in activities that will enhance our sensibility about nature. When we become more sensible, we will also become more sensitive about nature. That's my understanding. Sensitivity will in turn leads to better empathy for natural environment and the flora and fauna around us. In this session, we will discuss about the means to become more sensible and sensitive. How do we become more sensible? How do we become more sensitive? So as I said in the beginning, photography is one method by which you can get closer to nature. That is what I am experiencing. The easiest way to learn anything, they say, is through observation and experience. There is a big, school of thought which talks about experiential learning. They say experiential learning is the best way to learn and become more aware and sensible. I'm sure in your own course, in your home science course, there are a lot of opportunities for experiential learning, a lot of opportunities for practical learning. Hands-on learning is a very interesting learning mechanism. This is where bird watching comes in as an excellent means to enhance our nature consciousness. We are doing something from which you are able to learn. Of course, we need some equipment. When we are interested in a hobby like bird watching, certain equipment is very important, without which you will not be able to pursue the hobby in a satisfactory manner. I'm talking here about two things. One is binoculars, and the other, of course, is camera. There are various types of binoculars. With binoculars, you can easily spot birds which are at a distance. You can study bird behavior without actually disturbing the bird, without actually annoying the bird. Because as we all know, if you get closer to the bird will naturally fly away. So you will have to observe birds from a distance. To observe birds from a distance, we need a binocular. Second, of course, is camera. Even a mobile phone camera is useful, but unfortunately, mobile phone cameras are not ideal for bird photography because you cannot zoom a bird beyond a particular limit with a mobile camera. And of course, you need a notebook for noting down what you observe so that you don't forget and you can learn from it. Now, this is the binocular which I am using. This is called, the brand is called the Olympus. The strength is 10 into 50 DPS. If you search online, you will find many more options. But I will only say one thing, that very cheap binoculars from or unknown brands of binoculars may not be very useful. It may not serve the purpose for which you buy it. You may be wasting your money. Some of these equipment, some of these binoculars are very expensive, and some are very cheap. So we will have to find out, how much money we can spend and buy a useful binocular. But this is a very useful asset. These days, we are all familiar with DSLR cameras. The DSLR means digital single lens reflex camera. This is the kind of cameras which most of the professionals are using these days. And these are cameras with a detachable lens, which means you can remove the lens which you are using and bring in a lens of your choice or the lens which you want. Fixed lens cameras may not be very good because you cannot change the lens. So the camera which I am using is one with a detachable lens, and I am using a zoom lens for ideal photography. And I must warn you that both camera as well as lenses are expensive. You will certainly have to spend money if you want to acquire cameras and lenses. Unfortunately, it has not become cheaper. It's still a very expensive proposition. This is the camera which I am using. It's a Nikon D750, and I'm using a lens which is 200-500 mm zoom lens. And I found that this has been very useful. I'm very satisfied with the kind of results that I'm getting with this camera as well as the lens. But there are so many brands available. There are so many varieties available. You can all explore in the internet, and you will find variety of cameras and lenses, and then you can decide. For the sake of this discussion, I am classifying bird photography into three types based on the place where the photographs are taken. The first category I call what is known as the terrace or balcony or garden photography, which is actually in essence your own house. You shoot a bird from your terrace or your balcony or your garden without going outside your house. You are in your own house, in the compound itself, and you try to capture the images of a bird. The second one is what I call neighborhood photography, where you move out of your house, but you roam around in your own neighborhood and you spot birds and photograph. This third one is what I call location photography, where you have to go to a place where normally you find large number of birds, like a bird sanctuary, or a forest, or a lake. These are places where large number of birds normally congregate, and you are likely to get more images in a location photograph. So it is for us to decide, depending on the time, depending upon our convenience, whether we should be with the terrace photography or with the garden photography, or we should move into our neighborhood and roam around in our neighborhood, which I call photo walks. You walk for the purpose of taking photographs. And here, our object will be always nature, which is either an animal or a bird or an insect or a butterfly, whatever. For terrace photography, we have developed a small garden on our terrace. I've just put two photographs of my terrace garden. There are many plants. I'm not really worried about the number of floral plants or how many flowers I'm able to produce and all that. That is not the idea. My idea is that there must be greenery which can attract more number of birds. And I must say I've been successful in doing it, because there are several birds which come to my terrace garden. Sometimes they come to find insects. Sometimes they come to take nectar from the flowers. Sometimes they build their nests. I have put bird baths all around the garden. So they come to drink water and bathe in the bird bath. With all this, I am able to capture many images of birds without actually going outside anywhere. And in fact, I got an opportunity to capture more birds during the lockdown period, because there was no disturbance and many birds were coming, and I was really happy to photograph. You can see some of the nests which have been created by the birds in my garden. Unfortunately, there are stray cats and also rats, which sometimes come and damage these nests. And they take away the eggs or the chicks. So this has happened many times, unfortunately. And I cannot control, because the stray cats are just roaming free. Coming to bird watching, remember, birds are always around us in our habitat, and they are always watching us. We may not be watching the birds, but birds are always watching us. And they are always at an advantageous position, because they will be at a height and they can oversee what is happening. So it's easy for them to spot you and see you. Some of the birds are easily visible to us, while some are not very visible. They may be hiding, but they are there. One can easily watch birds in our immediate surroundings because there are so many birds. Only you have to start looking for them. You must observe. One can also visit such places, as I said, where there are more number of birds coming, like a lake or a bird sanctuary. But then that requires time, that requires special effort. Whereas observing one's own surrounding does not require so much of effort and money. All of you might have heard this term ornithology. Ornithology is that branch of science which deals with the scientific study of birds. The word ornithology comes from the Latin language ornithologia, which means bird science. Two names I would like to mention here. One is Alan Octavian Hume. He is considered as the father of Indian ornithology. The second name all of you must have heard about, Salim Ali, the birdman of India, the very famous Indian ornithologist and naturalist. Now these people have given us a lot of knowledge about birds. If you get an opportunity, please read their works. Nowadays on online, several things are available you can look for. Some tips on bird watching I would like to give you. Most important, move very slowly and silently. Avoid unnecessary movements and noise. If you are very noisy and if you are a big crowd, obviously birds will keep away. I have seen sometimes groups of youngsters coming to the biodiversity park in Nagpur and very noisy. They are speaking very loudly, laughing, shouting, and moving around. And sometimes they complain there are no birds. Obviously, birds will keep away from noise and unnecessary crowd and movements. So that's very important. Number two, you should have a keen sense of observation. You must be willing to observe even the minute details. As I said, birds will spot you even before you spot them. So you must be able to observe, then only you will be able to spot the birds, especially the smaller variety of birds. Larger birds you might easily find. The smaller birds, unless you are very careful, you will not sometimes see them. And never do anything to disturb or annoy birds. That's unethical. Don't throw a stone at a bird or a nest, or don't try to climb a tree and pick up the nest, etc. etc. There are several things sometimes people do out of ignorance, and it damages the bird's habitat. Never do that. Next important tip is be very patient. You have to have patience. You might have to wait very still for the birds to arrive. You can't be in a hurry. Because birds are free. They will decide whether to come or not to come. So you will have to be patiently waiting. And lastly, it's useful to read and be informed about bird behavior. Some birds get easily scared and fly away from the sight of humans. Especially if you are carrying a camera and normally a big lens, there's some object which you are carrying in your hand, birds will get scared and sometimes they fly away. That's one of the reasons why we cover the camera with a camouflage material, so that it is not very easy to see those birds, the camera. Now, how to attract birds to your house? What I have done is, I've been keeping bird baths on my terrace. You can keep bird baths on your terrace or your balcony. They will come to drink water. You can see two trays I have kept on the. It's actually the air conditioner outside the exhaust fan. On that I have kept two trays, one containing water, the other contains some food. I also put an earthen vessel as a bird bath, and they come and take bath. Of course, birds will feel, they have to feel secure, they have to feel confident. So you have to keep these things in such a place where there is no disturbance. See, I've been giving some food to the birds, and these are all birds in my coming to my terrace. A variety of birds come, smaller, bigger, variety of birds come. And every day morning I feed them, and they come to eat the food and also to take the water. You can see a variety of birds coming to my bird bath and the food tray. You can also keep bird houses in high secluded corners on the walls of your balcony. And these are my bird houses. You can see they already created a nest inside my bird house, and you can see two chicks, being fed by the sparrow. It's a very enjoyable experience, very satisfying experience. But it should be placed in such places where cats or rats cannot reach. I've learned from my experience that if you keep in a place where the cat can climb, there's a possibility that they will come and try to kill the birds and eat the birds. Now coming to the birds which I have clicked, which in this session I am only going to tell you about the birds in my neighborhood. I'm not talking about birds in a location like a lake or a sanctuary. Those pictures I am not including here because I am focusing only on the house, my house, and my neighborhood. The most common bird which I see in my neighborhood is the house parrot. Now this is the picture of a male house parrot. And house sparrows normally, if you keep a bird house sparrows normally immediately come and they will create their nest there. And they don't create any nuisance. They will silently, live in that house, and they procreate, have children, and you find them flying away. It's very satisfying. This is a male house sparrow, and this one is a female house sparrow. You might notice the difference. The male house sparrow has more brown wings and dark streaks on the wings, whereas the female is a very fawn color. There is no streaks on it. This is another very common bird in my neighborhood, which is the pin-tailed green eater. Very interesting birds. Now this is the time when you find a lot of them around my house, and they are actually experts in catching flying insects like bees, butterflies, dragonflies. Any of these flying insects, they catch them in flight. They will spot them from a distance and fly, catch them, and bring back and kill them and eat. If you observe them, you can see all that. Now, for example, here in this photograph, you can see a bee caught by this bee eater just before swallowing it. Very interesting bird. Another small bird in my garden, it's always there in my garden, which is the Ashipremia. Very interesting bird, small bird, and makes beautiful tweets and constantly moves around looking for insects inside the leaves. All of you have heard the call of a quail, I'm sure. During the mating season, they make loud calls, distinct calls. This is called the Asian quail. It's a male bird. The male bird is usually very, totally dark. Doesn't have any other color, jet black, and its eyes are very red. The female has eyes are red, but its body is spotted. It has got black and white spots on it. Now these birds, they build their nests, but they also have a tendency to lay their eggs in the nests of some other birds. Now that's a very, very shrewd game they play. They'll find out the nest of another bird, and they quietly lay their eggs in their nest and let the other bird grow, hatch the egg and grow the young one. They cheat the other birds. They are known for that. But it's interesting to hear their loud calls. Usually during the monsoon, near the monsoon, their calls you will find because that is the time when their mating season starts. Interesting bird. And you can easily spot them because they are large. They are as big as a crow. And you will find them sitting around. Both male and female you are likely to see in your neighborhood if you look at it. Another interesting bird is the black drongo. Now, black drongos are actually, in Hindi, they are called kotwal. Kotwal means a policeman. Now, kotwal because these birds, they give protection to smaller birds by warding off predators like eagles or even this Bharadwaj kind of birds which they come to kill the birds. So these kotwals have a tendency to fight them. They will do what is known as body bombing. They fly and come and hit those birds and try to dissuade them. So that's why they are known as the protectors of smaller birds. I see many of these drongos in my locality, and they also can catch insects in flight. Sometimes you will find them diving in order to catch the insects. Jet black with some white spots on their chest. This is a very small bird. It's called the black redstart. Now the redstart is actually a smaller bird. They will be almost as big as a sparrow. If you are not carefully observing, you may not find them. And they are very shy. Especially when human beings are around, they may not come near. They will fly away. But you will always find them. Especially I find them in my locality, in my neighborhood. They come looking for insects. So under the trees, near the plants, you will find. But they fly away. It's very difficult. I was trying to capture the image of this fellow for a long time. And he always flies away when you see me with the camera. One or two images with great difficulty I got, but I'm not very happy with the image because it's not the kind of image that I want. Maybe one of these days I will try to get a better image of this chap. But I like this fellow. He has a different color combination and attraction. This is a bird which is difficult to spot because this is also a small bird, slightly bigger than a sparrow, but always hiding in the leaves, looking for insects. But they will tweet. You can hear their tweets, very sweet tweets they make. So you can hear. But then if you watch, they'll be constantly moving from one branch to the other inside the branches. So very difficult to actually capture the image because they're constantly moving. In fact, one problem which I'm encountering while trying to take pictures of birds is the camera. I put it in autofocus so that whenever you get an object, it will try to focus on the object. But then when the birds are sitting between the leaves, the focus might go on to the leaves or the branches. You may not get the focus on the bird. And if you put it in manual, by the time you focus, the bird will fly away. Now this is a big challenge. One has to experience. With experience, you can perfect, and then you will be able to click. But very difficult because constantly they will be moving from one place to the other. They don't sit and allow you to actually come and photograph. So you will have to constantly focus, refocus, and then finally try to capture the image. Very colorful bird, yellow with black and white streaks on the wings, called the common iota. a very small bird. Now this one is actually the common tailor bird. They are called tailor birds because they stitch the leaves together to make their nest. Very interesting. Big leaves, they stitch together. They will stitch with natural fibers, or even they stitch with any kind of thread that they get. Small thread that they get. They bring the thread, and very skillfully they will bring together two leaves and stitch them together so that they can put their nest inside the leaves. That's why they are called the tailor birds. They stitch leaves together. Interesting bird and beautiful tweets. Now this chap is the Coppersmith barbet. They are called coppersmiths because nowadays you don't get coppersmiths in your locality, but earlier times I've seen a coppersmith's place. I know the kind of noise that comes from a small coppersmith's workshop, where they constantly hammer the copper sheet in order to shape it. So there's a kind of a tong, tong, tong noise coming. These birds make such kind of noise. Their tweets are not the usual wordy tweets. They have this kind of tong, tong, tong. This noise will come. And when you hear this noise, you know that the coppersmith is around. Luckily for me, I found one coppersmith just in front of my house where there's a dead tree. The tree is actually dead, it is dry. And they, like woodpeckers, they carve their nest on a dead tree bark branch. So this is the kind of activity this chap is doing, which is making a hole on the tree branch, dry branch, and he makes a deep hole inside. And inside that deep hole, he makes his nest. So for a long time, I was very lucky to get this bird. I could very closely observe it. I could even see it sitting inside the nest. At night, I used to put a torch to see, and I could see him sitting there. And he hatched some young ones, and he flew away. But still, he's around. I can hear him, his noise, his calls in my neighborhood. Very interesting bird, and he brings food for the young ones, and even for his mate who's sitting on the eggs to hatch them. She doesn't fly away, so he brings food and feeds them. So I could see all this happening in my. It was for about 2 weeks. I was totally engrossed watching this chap, and very interesting fellow. And this is one of his young ones. After it hatched, it started flying around. Then I could see the young one of this Coppersmith barbet. You try to hear this noise, very distinct call of the Coppersmith barbet. They also make that noise during the mating season, and then you can, from the noise you can find out what the bird is sitting. They normally sit on very high trees, on top of the trees. They don't go inside the branches. They will be always seen at the top. So if you are having a binocular, then it is easy. Their size is as big as or slightly bigger than a sparrow. Not a big bird. It's a small bird, but very distinct. Very distinct. And there you can see the bills of these birds. They're very sharp. They can make holes on a dry root. Another important, very, very beautiful bird in my locality is the Indian GoldenOreo. This is a male bird, very yellow, deep yellow. It resembles of the yellow and black taxi cabs of Mumbai, very distinct. And this is a male bird, male birds have this very black, distinct wings. unlike the females. I'll show you the female also. The female is, that wing color, you see, it's more very light shade of dark black. Otherwise, it is yellow. It's also yellow. So these two birds I've seen. I don't know where they made their nest, but they are somewhere. But I could see them a couple of times. I noticed them, and luckily I could picture them, photograph, because they were sitting together on the same tree. Very beautiful bird. Slightly bigger than a sparrow. Maybe let's say almost double the size of a sparrow. So from a distance also you can make this bird see this bird because the color itself and the size slightly bigger. So easy to see and easy to photograph. They were not very shy. So even after they saw me, they didn't really fly away. They were waiting. They almost paused for a photograph. Another very common bird in my neighborhood, in fact, I must say one of the most common birds in my neighborhood is the Indian robin. Indian robins, I can see they're all over. Anytime you go out, you are certainly going to see an Indian robin in my neighborhood. This is the male one. It has a dark plumage with slightly brownish plumage towards its tail end, and it keeps moving its tail up and down. When it starts moving from place to place, distinct movement of the tail, showing that brown part below the tail. Very distinct. And this is the male one. I also have the female one. I'll show you the female one also. You will find the female one is more, it's slightly drab. It doesn't have, you see this black plumage, very shiny black plumage, it doesn't have. It's a more fawn color, drab color. This is called dimorphic. Dimorphic means the male and female of the species you can make out from the plumage, the color of the plumage or the designs on the plumage you can make out. So some birds are dimorphic and some birds are not. Some birds you cannot make out. Their male and female will appear the same. It's difficult to distinguish. Whereas, like the Indian robin, you can easily make out that this one is a female and this one is a male. And some of them will even make a nest in your garden. So you can, if you are lucky, you will see them in your garden making a nest. But as I said, very common in my locality. I don't know how many of you have seen an Indian robin. Small bird, bigger than a sparrow, but not a very big bird. And they will be sitting on the ground also, looking for insects. Not only on the tree branches, they will come down, they will sit under a tree, and they will be looking for insects. So you can see carefully if you just look around the trees, you will find some of them trying to find food below the trees. And this is a very, very beautiful bird called the Indian silver-bill munia. I'm sure some of you have heard about munias. Munias are sometimes even caged. Some of the munias, some of the varieties of munias are used as caged birds, and they used to sell them at all. Of course, it is an offense because this all comes under the Wildlife Protection Act. This bird, the Indian silver munia, is a bird which I am inviting to my terrace by providing food. I give seeds, and they come and they take the seeds. They remove the husk from the tiny seed. They remove the husk and eat the inside seed. So, and they come in large numbers, 10, 15, 20 of them. They come together, and they'll be always, trying to sit very quietly and eat whatever that food that you're giving some seeds to them. Very tiny seeds they eat. Indian silver munia. They are known as silver munias because they have got a silver bill. You see their bill is silver color. So that's why they are known as the silver bill. But they come under, they are all munias. Interesting bird. And many of them. Not very shy, not very shy. Even if you go closer, they cannot immediately fly away. They will sit and eat, or still sitting at the bird bath and drinking water. Even if you get a little closer to them. Interesting bird and easy to watch. Another munia which comes to my garden is the scaly-breasted munia. Scaly-breasted because you see the breast portion, you'll find the white spot kind of scales, scaly, like the fish scales. You'll find this portion as with that black and white design, which gives them a distinct scaly look. That's why they are known as the scaly-breasted munias. They are also munias. They also have the ability to dehusk. If they give a small seed, they'll remove the husk from the seed and eat. And there are some grass in my garden where the grass have seeds on it. They come and sit on that grass and eat the seed of the grass. Interesting birds. Slightly, maybe as big as the silver-billed munia, like a sparrow, like something similar. Size will be something similar to that of a sparrow. This elegant bird is known as the Brahmini starling. It's a myna. There are many mynas. You'll see some mynas here. They are called the Brahmini mynas probably because of their, the hair kind of a thing on their head portion. Earlier times, the Brahmins used to shave most of their hair and put a kind of a small tuft of hair on their backside of their head. So they resemble that. That's why they are known as the Brahmini starling. They are starlings or Brahmini mynas. These are also birds you will find sitting on the ground, sitting on the below the trees, looking for food. And they also come and eat food which you give them. They even take chapati or rice or whatever you feed them. They come and take. So regularly, if you keep food in one place, these starlings will come and eat. So it's easy to actually attract them, and it is easy to photograph them. They are also not very shy. They are not very scared. So they will sit because they are used to human beings that way. So they don't immediately fly away. Easy to photograph. I have taken this photograph of the bird sitting on by the side of the road. I think there was some food there, so it came to forage and I could click. The Brahmini starling. Another myna is what is known as the common myna. Now the common mynas are black with white underpart. You'll also find the bill is yellow, and behind their eyes you'll find a yellow patch, and they make noise which is sometimes very distinct. You can make out that there is a common myna somewhere. And like the other mynas, they also come down. They also sit on the ground and look for food. The third type of myna is known as the pied myna. You'll find the difference here. See, once again, this is a Brahmini myna, which has got a fawn color with a black tuft of hair on the head. The second one is the common myna, which is more black, jet black with white underbelly, and then this yellow beaks or bills. And the pied myna, interesting bird with orange colored bill and orange colored streak surrounding the eyes, black wings with white streaks on it, and white underbelly. These are, I have not seen many pied mynas, very few I have seen. In my locality, there are not many pied mynas, but there are. And they have their nest on a very tall tree. I have seen their nest. And this one is actually sitting near the nest. That's why I could capture the image. So, this is also a myna. Pied myna. A very beautiful, tiny bird. the Indian white-eye. Obviously, you can, why the name white-eye is given, you can see the eye. You will find it's wearing some kind of a spectacle with a white frame. So that white round portion has given the name white-eye. Small bird, half the size of a parrot, yellow and slightly dirty white kind of appearance, and they will be inside the leaves. Very difficult to detect. They don't normally come out and be very visible. They'll be always inside the leaves and looking for insects. These are all they eat more insects, so they will be always looking for insects. But while foraging for food, they'll be making some small noise. They can make out. When that noise comes, you can make out that this chap is around. And they also come to my bird bath. I've seen them taking bath and I've seen them drinking. Also, these fellows, when I water the plants, sometimes I spray water on the leaves. So they come and take bath by rolling their body on the wet leaves. So interesting. And I know when I'm spraying water, I know if that fellow is around, he will come. He will come, and normally during the summer months, these fellows will come. Normally play in the water, which is sprayed on leaves. Interesting bird, Indian white-eye. But difficult to detect because it's very small and it's normally hiding inside the leaves. This is the jungle babbler. Now, babblers, why they got the name? Because they babble. They make a lot of noise. And they move around in groups, small groups. Maybe there are 4, 5, 10 birds. And they'll be always, babbling. God alone knows what they are actually trying to communicate, but they'll be babbling. A lot of noise will be there. They're very noisy. You can make out wherever they are, and normally they are in a group, and all of them will be communicating with loud babbles, and they'll be looking for food. So these birds also, if you keep some food, they will come. You keep some roti or chapati, something, you keep, they will come. Even fruits, some fruits, or if you eat watermelon and keep the skin of the watermelon somewhere, they will come. So these are birds which are easily noticeable, not very scared. They will sit and pause. So now this fellow is actually sitting and looking at me and pausing. Okay, you click. What do you want to do? You click. Okay, you click. He doesn't immediately fly away or anything. Slightly brave type of birds and noisy, easy to make out. If they are there, you will immediately notice that this fellow is there. And their body color sometimes matches with the dry leaves which are under the tree. So if they are sitting there, you will not be able to make out that these fellows are sitting there unless they make the noise. From a distance, you may not find. And very difficult to photograph them when they are sitting beneath the tree among the dry leaves because difficult to focus on them. But then when they come out, this fellow came out and he was sitting on a wall, so I could immediately capture it because they get some contrast and easy to then focus. Jungle babblers. Beautiful bird, which I always want to photograph. Any number of times I have seen this chap, I always try to photograph. It is called the WhiteTotal Kingfisher. These kingfishers, usually you will find them in the vicinity of water, a lake or a pond or any water body, because the food of their preference is a small fish or small frog. They also, I have seen this fellow. This fellow is in my neighborhood. Actually, he has a nest somewhere. I have not noticed this nest because it is on some tall tree. But he is right in front of my house. He lives, and I have seen him catching a lizard, garden lizard. That also he eats. So interesting chap, and makes loud calls, and always, in my vicinity in the morning around 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock, I invariably see. But when I go out for a morning walk, I look, he'll be there. He'll be sitting on this tree. And also on the cables, like sitting on the cable and watching me. He doesn't fly away. He'll sit there for a long time, cleaning himself and all that, and you can visually photograph him. This is called the WhiteTotal Kingfisher. Interesting bird. Colorful, and if you're lucky, they'll be there in your locality. But near the water bodies, you are more likely to find them because they'll be hunting for fish. One of the most common birds in my neighborhood is the Oriental magpie robin. So this one is a male Oriental magpie robin. Like the Indian robins, they also have this tail, lifted up, and they start moving it up and down when they move around. The males are jet black plumage with white streaks, and white underbelly. The female, I'm sorry, I did not put a female here. The female has black outer the body, but near below the beak, below the bill, that this portion will have some grey kind of color. So you can make out. If you see a grey patch beneath the neck, that is a female. If it is all black, then it is a male. Oriental magpie robin. He is a singer. Sings beautifully, and he can mimic. He also mimics the other birds. He can make calls of other birds. So, and in my neighborhood, in front of my house, every day morning around 5:30, he starts his calls, and it's almost like wake up. Our wake up alarm is the Oriental magpie robin, and many of them are there. And they also, one of them near my neighbor, one of the neighbor has put a birdhouse. He put a birdhouse for the parrots, but these fellows came and took over, and he made his nest inside that birdhouse, and they made chicks there. Very interesting bird. A singer. I call him a singer because he sings beautifully, and he sings some on top of some tree or some pipe or some high place, and he will be making loud calls. Beautiful trees. Because all of you know about the parakeets, wrongly known as parrots. They are not parrots; they are parakeets. Now, parakeets are in India. Parakeets are sometimes considered as a pest also because if many of them come on the field, they can destroy crops. For example, if you have got mirchi growing in your field, they can come and eat a lot of it. Or tuar, in the tuar cape, they will come and destroy a whole lot of tuar. And sometimes they come in large numbers. 50, 20 of them, they come together and descend on your field and they eat voraciously. This one, in front of my house, there is a this tree which has this fruit. So they come regularly. Whenever this fruiting starts, many of them come. And you will see them quietly sitting and eating the fruits. Not very bothered about you photographing them. You move around with the camera and all that. They are not bothered. They'll be silently watching you, but eating. So, interesting word. So remember, these are not parrots, these are parakeets. And there are a variety of parakeets. I am not going into the details of all the parakeets, but parakeets, we have all seen them, and I'm sure that you also familiar with their calls. They make very loud shrieks, especially when they are threatened, when they want to communicate. Even when they are flying together, they communicate with loud shrieks here sometimes. And unfortunately, some of them are caged. In India, I've seen people caging them, and some of them will start, talking like in a human voice if you train them. So for that purpose, many people they buy these birds and cage them. Of course, it is an offense because this also is protected under the Wildlife Protection Act. So I would say don't cage birds. That's not the way. You grow trees and birds will come. You can see them. not necessary that you have to put a bird in a cage if you love a bird. If you love a bird, allow them to fly free. That's how the bird should be. Uh, the most common bird in my neighborhood is the red-winged bulbul. Uh, this one is actually sitting on my bird bath and trying to drink water. He's one who almost finishes the water by taking bath. Constantly, you'll come, you'll take bath, you'll throw water all around, and by evening, if you go there, you'll find the bird bath will dry because these fellows have come, they have taken bath. And many of them, there are so many of them in my vicinity. They're called red-vented because you can see the bottom part below the tail is a red patch. That's why they are known as the red-vented bulbul. They also make sometimes beautiful songs they make, but not as beautiful as the magpie of the night. A tiny bird, almost very small, is the purple sunbird. You can see the color of the plumage. It's purple, deep purple, and these birds are essentially they like nectar. So they come, they visit all flowers. They'll make a hole sometimes at the base of the flower and they drink the nectar. So and they they move around very fast. It's very sometimes difficult to picture them because they constantly keep moving, and from one flower to the other flower they'll be keeping on. And these birds also are friends of farmers because they can pollinate. You know that for the seeds to come or fruits to come, there must be pollination of the flowers. And the pollinating agent, one of the pollinating agents is the purple sunbird, which keeps flying from one flower to the other. In the process, it will pollinate the flowers. A useful bird, interesting bird, and a very nice kind of calls it makes when it's moving around or when it is trying to find a mate. And this is a male one. The female ones are not as colorful; they are more fawn. And the males are very particular when during the mating season they fight. They catch the other fellow, and I've seen them fighting on the ground. They fall on the ground and fight. Very fierce, interesting birds. The purple sunbird. Now these chaps are the Indian cliff swallow. Swallows, they live in a community. They live in a group. I'll show you their nest, very interesting nest. And I've seen in the evenings, all of them, about 50, 60, 100 of them flying together just to enjoy the flight. And in the process, they'll be also making some noise and flying around, doing nothing, just flying together in a harmonious way. And they normally build their nests with mud below the cliff. That's why they are known as the cliff swallow. But I found their nest in my neighborhood on a house. The house, nobody was living there. So in the balcony of the house, I could find their nest. See their nest. They make a nest with mud. Can you see the small bulbs of mud? They bring this mud from some water body. Each time they bring one and stick the bulb, and over with a lot of effort, they carve out this kind of a nest. Interesting to see, and see how many of them. So, and this photograph has not actually covered the entire number of nests. So, very interesting kind of nest making, and I was really appreciating the ways of nature. These are the architects of nature. I don't know who teaches them how to build and all that, but they are able to build beautiful nests. So these are called the Indian cliff swallows, and they are always seen together. There will be many. In fact, on this wire, on this cable, there are about 30 or 40 of them sitting together. But I took a close up because otherwise you cannot see the bird from from a close-up. That's why I cut the rest of the thing, I cropped it. Interesting mud nest. This chap is the white-spotted fantail. And I need not explain, the tail is like a fan. You know. And it can fold it. When it's moving from place to place, it folds it, unfolds it. Interesting. It's like a dance, like a dancer. Keeps moving from place to place, folding and unfolding the tail. Interesting. It's called the white spotted. White spotted because it has got some spots, white spots on its head, you can see. That's why it's known as the white spotted fantail. This is also one of my one bird which comes to my terrace garden. Comes to the bird bath, takes very quick bath. It just comes and dips itself and goes away. It doesn't spend time there. So I'm not able to capture his image at the bird bath. But one day I will do it. I'm certainly going to get it in my camera. This is another spot, white spotted fantail sitting on the tree. But here again, keeps moving. It doesn't sit still. Keeps moving. With every movement, it will fold and unfold the tail. Interesting. This bird is known as the laughing dove. Now, laughing dove, the name because it makes some the sound something similar to laughter. If you are lucky, you will have these birds around your house, and they also make nests in a very shoddy way. Very lazy nest makers. They just put some 3, 4, 5 branches, dry twigs or something together and call it a nest. And they'll lay their eggs. And at least about it. They don't do any fine nest making like many other birds. They don't make too much efforts. And they will make nests in your, suppose there is a potted plant, in the pot, they'll come and make the nest. Or anywhere, they are at least, they're very careless. And in the process, what happens is that their eggs will fall down because their nests are not very neatly made. So sometimes the eggs fall down. They are about. And they have this laughing sound they make. That's why they are known as the laughing dove. I have many of these laughing doves around my house. Nice birds. They don't create any nuisance. They don't create any harm. They're nice birds. This is called the chestnut-tailed starling. Now this starling is not a resident of my neighborhood. In fact, I have seen them only 3, 4 times. They came because one evening when we were sitting on at the terrace and having evening tea, suddenly we found, you see this, hundreds of them, they came together and they were sitting on the tree. Hundreds of them, en masse. They just came as a big group of birds and descended on this tree. And after about 15-20 minutes, they took off. And I don't know where they went. And they don't live in my neighborhood, but they came from somewhere. Then later on, I was learning more about them, and they are kind of migrants within the territory. They are not migrating far away, but they will migrate from one area to the other area depending on availability of food and all that. So probably those days they just came in search of food in my area. That's why they were all there. So this is a bird. It's called the chestnut-tailed starling. The color, the lower portion of the body has that chestnut color. That's why it's called the chestnut-tailed starling. Now this fellow is as big as a crow, and sometimes slightly bigger than a crow. He's a pheasant, known as the crow pheasant. In Hindi, he's called Bharadwaj. And this chap also makes a very distinct call. You can make out it's the call of a crow pheasant. And these chaps are sort of dangerous in the sense they have a tendency to eat the eggs and chicks of other birds. So they come looking for a nest and they take away the eggs of other birds, eat them. So they are predators that way. So here, I saw one day he killed a pigeon, probably a young pigeon. He might have raided the nest of a pigeon and killed the pigeon and brought it. And he was sitting near my house on the road, by the side of the road, and he was eating the kill. And in fact, I saw him that time. I had no camera with me, so I went back, collected the camera, and came. But still, he was sitting there and eating. He allowed me to photograph. He didn't fly away. Not very scared of me. But they have the tendency to kill the other birds and eat the chicks of other birds. So I don't know whether to allow them to roam around because it's dangerous to the other birds. But that is how nature is. They also have to survive. This chap, another predator, you can see from the looks, is a dangerous bird because he also kills other birds. Not only young ones, he can kill older ones also. All smaller birds he will attack. He can attack. Shikra, accidental radius is the name of the scientific name. Shikras are not many in my locality, but they are there. And they make very distinct calls when they are hunting. So I know their distinct calls, sometimes I hear. And one day I spotted their nest. This is the nest of the shikra, and you can see the mom and the chick. There were 3 chicks in that nest, and I could photograph one chick with the mom one day. And they grew big, and they started roaming around. So they are in my vicinity, in my neighborhood. Not good for the smaller birds because they can come anytime and they can attack. And these chaps even come to my bird bath and they drink from my bird bath. And it's not good because they scare away my smaller birds who are coming. But I don't chase him away because he is also part of nature. So that's how nature is. We will eat smaller birds. So friends, to conclude, as I said, I have not put all the photographs of the birds that I have got because I have focused on neighborhood photography or terrace photography. That's why the ones which are in my vicinity, in the house near my house, I put only them. Normally, before I put any photograph outside, I edit my pictures. There is something called photo editing. You can use some basic editing using Microsoft Office Picture Manager. Your Microsoft Office will have that software called Microsoft Office Picture Manager. That's a simple software which can be used by anyone for cropping, for increasing the light intensity, etc., etc. But very, very minimal. I use another simple software which is slightly more advanced called the Lightroom. Of course, you have to buy that software. It's not free. But Microsoft Picture Manager is there in your system. You can easily see that. But the Lightroom has to be bought. But it's very useful and very simple. So most of my pictures are edited. And I also put my watermarking using this Lightroom software. Then there are advanced software like Photoshop, which I am not an expert. I tried learning it, but I'm yet to feel confident of using it. Photoshop is meant for more professionals. I am not a professional, so I want to learn. One day I will master it, I'm sure. Due to constraints of time, as I said, I'm not sharing with you all the pictures which I have taken. I have taken only the neighborhood ones I have got here. You see that I could get about more than 30 birds without going anywhere from my house or outside my immediate neighborhood. All these are resident birds and they are not migratory birds. That's the interesting part. There are several birds residing around in your neighborhood. Look for them. And I know that I have many more birds in my neighborhood that I have not clicked. Every day, sometimes I will come across a new bird. I'm looking for new birds. and I'll be very happy when I see a new bird. And sometimes people ask me, how do I know all the names of these birds? Certainly, I also don't know many names. What I do is, I take the image and put it in the Google Lens, and Google Lens will give me some idea. Which object is this? Which bird is this? Or which plant is this? Which insect is there? So you can, if you can get a picture, you can put that image on Google Lens, and then Google Lens can give us some indication as to what could it be. Of course, Google Lens sometimes can go wrong because similarly looking things can be they can give wrong misguided. So you got to be a little careful, but you will get more or less you will get an idea. Then of course there is the great Google is there for finding out more details. That is how I give names to my birds. I'll be very happy to answer your questions if you have, and I'll be very glad to receive the bird pictures that you click, and you can email those pictures to me. Thank you very much, and we have some 10 minutes, as I said, we have 10 minutes left before we conclude. So I simply will want to answer your questions.
Thank you, sir. Girls, you may share any reflections that you have of experiencing the whole session, and or you could ask any questions that you have.
So I have
Your
a
voice is-
question.
Yeah, please. Shraddha. You is Shraddha?
Yes, sir. How do
Yeah.
we tell the difference between a parakeet and a parrot?
It's a good question, but I also am not an expert on all this. But I know that the parakeets are the ones which are commonly found in our neighborhood. Parrots are more colorful ones. They are more colorful. Their plumage is more colorful. There will be yellow, red streaks on them, and their beaks are bigger, and things like that. Whereas the parakeets, they are more green. They are green, yellow, green, and sometimes red bill. And then there are rows again going around their neck. Those kind of characteristics.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
So you may stop. You may select the option of presenting to not presenting, and we could have the entire screen. Yes. Sugangi, did you have something to say?
Ma'am, actually, this was very informative. Also, I would like to ask about Photoshop.
Not me. I'm not the man. I'm just exploring. I'm exploring Photoshop, which is a software which is slightly more complicated, not very easy to operate. I mean, at least for me, there are experts on Photoshop, but Photoshop is much more advanced. So while editing pictures, Photoshop is more useful. I know people who are using only Photoshop. But I am not an expert. And that software is expensive. You have to buy it.
Okay, sir.
Dr. John, thank you for this very fascinating presentation.
Hi, Mala.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It was really learned so much. I wanted to ask you about, are there any specific migratory birds that you've included in your presentation?
Not really, not really. See, as I said, I have included only the ones which I have been able to photograph in my neighborhood. And almost all these birds in my neighborhood, almost all, are resident birds. They are not migratory birds. I have pictures of migratory birds which I have clicked in the lakes, near the lakes. So there are so many. But I have not included any of those migratory birds here. In fact, this is a time of the year where there will be migration to Nagpur lakes. So this is a time when most of us will go near the lakes. Now in another 10 days or so, more migratory birds are likely to visit the lakes of North. So that's a kind of a time we are looking forward to. We want to go and spend time near the lakes, and we'll find a whole lot of migratory birds. But in this presentation, I have not included any birds which I have shot outside my neighborhood.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else would like to share their reflections about today's session?
You can also, some of you can share your experience if you have got some experience in bird photography or bird watching. You can share their experience, or even the cameras that you are using. You can share, it will be useful for others, also to me. Is anyone of you having a camera other than the mobile camera?
Yes, sir. I do have Canon
Canon. Okay.
280. Yes, sir.
Which lens are you using?
Sir, it depends on the shot. For a wider shot, we use the broader camera. Lens, sorry, lens. The broader lens. Yes, sir.
Do you have a zoom lens with you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What is the magnification possible?
Sir, actually, I am very weak to remember those points, so I have written in my diary.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Even I am very weak. I only know certain things.
Yes, sir.
But I am very happy to know that somebody is using a DSLR.
Yes, sir.
So I don't have a camera, but after this session, I feel like buying binoculars.
Good. But be careful, because budget is a very big constraint.
Yes,
I
sir.
think Kushi
Because
has
the hobby,
shared.
as you say, the photography as a hobby is very expensive. But mainly because the cost of the equipment.
Kushi has shared that she has seen a sunbird. So Kushi, do you want to share with sir?
Who want to share?
Yeah.
Kushi? She's put a comment that she has seen the sunbird in.
Sunbird. Oh, good. She has a picture.
Kushi, can you hear us?
Yes, ma'am, I can hear you, but I don't have a picture right now.
Picture. It's difficult to get the picture because they keep moving.
Yeah, it's very small and beautiful.
Very small, beautiful, and very active. It doesn't sit quietly in one place. You'll be always seeing it moving. So that's a challenge for the photographer, actually, to get a good picture.
Huda, maybe you could pick up from the chat because a few girls are typing in.
I was about to add to that. So basically, we've been discussing about deforestation and the impact of human development on other species of the planet. So Shabina has rightly pointed out that due to developing networks, we see less and less of the birds. So we've been discussing this extensively in our ES class. So I think today's session is very, very relevant because they've been thinking about it too. Shubhangi, I think you've shared a clip. I
Yes,
will try
ma'am.
to open and
Which I
share
have
it with.
photographed it. Actually, I
And
put it on my website.
okay, I will share it with everyone. Just give me a moment.
Okay.
No, regarding the trees, I normally say this: if you love birds, don't cage them, but plant some trees. They will come. Because people have a tendency normally when they love, that's a crow. Very good. Very good. That's a crow. And interestingly, I must say that in my neighborhood there are no crows. Very strange, no? In Mumbai you will find a lot of crows. I know. But in Nagpur, where I live in a place called Trimurti Nagar. In Trimurti Nagar, I have not heard a crow and I have not seen it. So I think crows are not coming to our place for whatever reasons. Maybe they are not finding the food they are looking for or whatever. There are crows in Nagpur, but not in my vicinity. So I could not actually photograph a crow. I have got I have photographed crows in Mumbai near the gateway. You can write your comments if you want to tell me your feedback. I've given my email ID. You can write to me. I'll be very happy to learn because I'm in the process of learning more about photography as well as birds as well as nature. So any comments, welcome. Not necessarily good, bad comments.
Christy, do you have something to say?
I think Bhagashri. Bhagashri, do you want to ask your question?
Yes, ma'am. So, which place would you refer us to go for a bird visit, bird watch?
See, bird watching you can do depending upon your own district where you live, or the place where you live. There will be several lakes. I'm sure every district has got lakes. Lakes are a very important place for bird watching because many birds will be there are water birds. Birds which live on the water. So they have their nests around the lake. They'll be eating from the lake, and they'll be swimming around. So lakes are a very important place. So you take the map of your district and see which are the lakes that are in your district. You go there, you're certainly going to get birds. And each district will have different lakes. So I will not say a particular lake or a particular. In fact, migratory birds in Mumbai, there are migratory birds coming to the creek, the Thane Creek, in a big way. So if you go to Thane Creek, anytime you will find birds, but during the migratory season, you will find migratory birds in Thane.
The students have shared that they've clicked pictures of some kind of birds. For instance, Dharani says that she has pictures of not a bird, but actually that of squirrels. And Mubashira said that she's encountered a tailor bird, which had come to her house.
Oh, good. They're very interesting birds because they can create their nest by stitching leaves together.
One of the students, Mamta, said that she stays near Sanjay Gandhi National Park. So she said that she's encountered some of the birds that you have shared with her.
Oh, good.
And so does Nada. She says she's seen around 4 to 5 birds that you shared today. Same, I think she says that she doesn't know the names of them, but she doesn't identify them. But she knows.
So you can, as I said a little while ago, if you have got Google, you download Google Lens onto your mobile or your system. And Google Lens is a very useful tool for identifying birds or plants. So if you have an image, you can put that image in Google Lens and search, and it will give you more or less accurate answers. Not 100%. Sometimes there could be slight. Yeah, that's a sparrow. Now
that's a beautiful picture.
To comment on the sparrows, the number of sparrows are now declining.
Yes, sir.
In many places, there are no sparrows left. They say it is mainly because of the radiation from the mobile towers. It's affecting their reproduction. That is what is being told. In fact, in our vicinity also, there are less number of sparrows than, let's say, 5 years ago. So there is a problem. There is a threat to their life. And these birds, as I said, if you put a house, bird house, they are most likely to come and live there.
Shrishti says that she's seen a beaver bird. Himani says that she's seen a white-throated pancake bird.
Good, good, good.
That's very good.
That's very good. When you keep looking, I'm sure that you will find more birds. It's only a matter of, keeping an eye on birds. And as I said, you can attract birds by feeding them. So you keep some food, even roti, even chawal, sometimes the kind of seeds. There are many types of seeds which are available. So you keep some of these things and see. Depending upon the birds in your locality, they will come. Yeah, flamingos. Somebody is talking about flamingos. Flamingos normally migrate to the mangroves. That's right. Tiny Creek is one place where I have seen flamingos. They come in large numbers, and we have to make an effort to reach there. And you should have a good camera, then you can focus and click.
Hiranya, you have your camera on. Okay, so I'm very glad that students have absolutely enjoyed, and I think we don't really do bird watching as part of the ES syllabus, or we don't study birds, but we do study about the impact of human activities that have a gross impact actually on birds and other wildlife. So I think now we could probably, the takeaway I think we have from this session is how to engage in natural in activities with nature, because I think it's a very meditative activity, and it would definitely bring some, because I think one of the virtues that we've learned today from bird watching as well is that you need to be very patient, and anybody who wants to engage in this activity has to have that kind of motivation to put in the time to watch birds, to learn more about it, and then in a way your photography skill gets better as and when you keep on practicing it. So I think the ones who haven't engaged in this activity, people like me as well, need to spend more time and spend some time with nature. I have a tree next to my house from which I do view different kinds of birds. But and these are it's a fruit tree actually, and so there are these really small birds that generally inhabit this tree. But sometimes I think I make a noise and they fly away because I'm so excited to see these beautiful birds. And I think today during the presentation, uh, I was just mesmerized because these are such beautiful creatures. One thing I learned today was I didn't know that birds' nest could be, it could be made out of mud. So because we always thought it made of twigs and leaves and different plant-based products, but not mud. So thank you, sir. I think uh, all the students, and I have definitely enjoyed the session. Yes, Preksha, very informative.
Yes, big thank you, Dr. John.
Thank you
And
very much,
yeah,
Mr. Madam,
thank
for
you.
inviting
It's
me.
been a wonderful session.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Uday, I think you can close the class now.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, and all the best to all of you.
Ma'am, we don't have to